BMW F800GS. This is not a how to do it, but a how I did it. And just to get right to it here, obviously the first thing we got to do is get off the old front wheel. Just a note, make sure you disconnect and remove your ABS sensor. If you pull it off without that, you could damage it. Get the old Brembo binder off, pop out the axle, and away we go. So we won't get in this too much. If you can't get your wheel off, you're probably not a good candidate to replace your rim. Anyhow, that's it. This wasn't a long job. It took about a day's work, a solid day's work to get done. It took a lot of nerve. This was the first time that I've rebuilt a rim on a motorcycle, so yeah, it was a learning curve here for sure. To get all the bolts out of our brake rotor. Now these were all put in with some Loctite, and certainly when we reinstall it all, it would be going back as per the BMW technical manual, and that includes some Loctite in these very valuable critical bolting sections. What I did here was to use a marker, a Sharpie, just mark out this side. I wanted to put the ABS sensor and the corresponding brake disc back on the same side. And the other side was pretty much straightforward. Get it out, get the disc off. A good opportunity to inspect it all, clean it up. Bit of WD-40 there, some of the best stuff you can use for cleaning, and here we go. So the next stage is to basically disassemble the rim. And at this point I took a deep breath, because when this was basically the point of no return. So first thing I did was take a lot of photographs, good photographs for when I went to lace up the new rim. That was the very important thing. Photographs, some notes, whatever it takes. Breaking down this rim was a little difficult. Some of these spokes and nipples were kind of tight and kind of seized, and certainly when you put a wrench on them, they actually they rotate somewhat. So we used a pair of vice grips here to hold the spoke stationary. Break it with a big wrench, back it off a bit, get the old screwdriver going, and start breaking it down. You know, pretty straightforward job. Again, you know, paying attention to the whole process, the procedure, kind of looking at size it all up, and there you go, bang, she's broke down. There you have it. So this is the point of no return. What are we going to do now? Well, first thing I noticed, the two spokes in the BMW kit that came off, one, the longer one with the longer bend, is located here. That's the bottom spoke that crosses underneath the corresponding spoke that travels in the opposite direction. Now the touratech kit only came with one type of spoke. Did this present a problem? I don't know. It all went together. It appeared that the touratech spokes were kind of butting each other when it was installed. The touratech nipples were a full 1/4 inch, as seen here with a 1/4 inch wrench. The original BMW, as you can see here, yeah, noticeably smaller, quite a bit smaller. Now I didn't measure the spokes. I should have with a set of calipers, but they appear bigger as well. At this point, again, consulting my notes and certainly my photographs, we just start to lace up the rim. So it's pretty straightforward how it all goes together. There's basically one way for this to go together. I don't think anyone could put these spokes in wrong. They wouldn't reach, they'd be buckled, they'd be bent. So again, you know, to me it seems straightforward, and it was all laced up. The only problem that I had, as I mentioned earlier, that the touratech spokes are one bend only. So if you can see there, the spokes that go underneath the other spokes, they were touching at this point, and you know, there was a slight bend in the spoke. Didn't really present a problem, and I'm assuming that I have all the right spokes in this kit. If anyone knows any different, feel free to let me know. At this point we used some Never Seize to lubricate the spoke ends. Just to didn't want it to seize up. We've had to do some adjustment down the road, made the whole process a little easier, I guess. A little messy, but a little easier. Now these spokes, the corresponding holes in the rim, basically when you're putting this together, there's, again, as I said earlier, there's really only one way those spokes go. Once you have it laid out, those spokes are pointing pretty much right at the corresponding punch outs in the rim, and those punch outs in the rim, they're kind of looking right back at the corresponding spoke at the hub. And here we go, we're just flipping over. At this point, when I laced up the second side, the spokes were a little tighter because we didn't have the luxury of having the hub kind of floating around inside the rim. The hub was more centrally fixed at this point, so we had to bend and we had to tap, and took a little bit more time, but way to go. They all shot right back in there, and Bob's your uncle, way to go. Again, the whole process took about a day's work, and it was kind of tedious. A lot of a lot of spokes to put in there. So again, you can see here as the spoke installation progress neared completion, they got a little tighter and a little tighter, and you had to bend them a little more and a little more. And I think again this was due to the fact that the touratech kit had one type of spoke with a smaller bend, and I think this gave me a little bit of grief here, but the rim went together nonetheless. As you can see here, we're just installing the spokes, and really had no issues. It just shot right back through the hub and right into the rim. Looks like we're putting the last spoke in here. It's a little tight, or one of the last spokes. Had to tap them, and let's say the touratech rim, the XL rim, appeared to be a good solid rim. It was a little thicker, a little heavier than the BMW rim. We had a few nipples left over. It's always a good thing in a kit like that in case you lose a few. So here we go. The next stage in this game, we were going to do the alignment and the final torque on the spokes. The wheel was clamped in a motorcycle jack stand here. Used some U-bolts, clamped it down real tight. And the next thing in the process, we had a dog gauge installed, but what I did here was to torque each spoke in the exact same amount. And I shouldn't say torque, at this point it was just a very light tightening of the screws, and I used the inside to see how much the spoke projected back through the nipple, as well as the view from here to watch the amount of thread that was left exposed. And at this point we just went right around the rim. One spoke was marked as a starting point, and consecutive passes were made around this rim, each time adjusting a little tighter and a little tighter each time, and ending back on the same spoke. The idea was to load each spoke up pretty much the same amount, and hopefully get it nice and true. This part here now is the final torquing. So the final torque was used by I checked my other remaining wheel that wasn't disassembled. Kind of got a feel for the torque on that, and the sound from the spokes as I tapped them, and away to go. Again, made another pass, tighten it all up, and check our old dog gauge. So after it was all said and done, we had a run out of approximately 25 thousandths of an inch. Well within the BMW specs. BMW specs 1.77 millimeters, 55 thousandths of an inch. So we're approximately half of what BMW recommends for the run out. And to me, I was quite satisfied with that. That was pretty good, I think, for a first try, and I don't think I could have got that much better than that. You know, pretty much unnoticeable to the eye, any kind of wobble in that wheel, and I was quite happy. The lateral adjustment on the rim was measured as well. You can see here we made one complete pass, and you can actually see for yourself what the rim was out. I'm thinking that would have been some of the surface prep on the rim even for that small amount. So here's the lateral run out, and again we're pretty much the same amount. The dog gauge here kind of gave us a total range of about around 25 thousandths of an inch. So I was quite happy with that. There's one complete revolution there on that rim, and you can see for yourself what the end result was. One thing I did notice with this kit was the way that the nipples and the spokes, the angle that was created here. And again, using this straight edge as a reference point, you can see that the spoke kind of exits on an angle from the nipple. So did this make a difference? Doesn't appear to be. The rim again was straight and true, and this rim now has approximately 5,000 kilometers on it after this rebuild. and a lot of that was some heavy off-road use, and the rim is true and straight. No spokes have come loose, but you can see here it was a little concerning. Didn't really know what was going to happen at this point, but you know, everything's true and tight, so continue to monitor that. Anyone has any comments to make on that, by all means let me know what you think. At the end of the day, the kit went together. Again, 5,000 kilometers on this wheel. This is an excellent rim. There's no dents or bends in this rim at this point, and this bike has been used hard. I would recommend this this rim to anyone trying to upgrade from the old the BMW kit, which is not that great. XL rim, touratech Canada. I would recommend anyone to want to upgrade your rim. This is a kit to get.